shut.
Is the podcast started?
No, hey.
Yeah, it's recording.
All right.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. We were all talking shite there. We were getting a bit excited. I have Shane on again. And I'm just looking at Colin's... What do you call him?
Barefoot shoes.
I don't know about him. Fashion-wise, I really don't... I'm out.
No, they're very, very, very slim shoes.
And I was just asking him, why? So why?
It's like not wearing... It's like when you're walking around barefoot, so your shoe isn't... Like, I always find shoes squeeze my foot. Like, my feet are too wide for shoes, so I get these really hard...
Big wide feet.
Yeah.
Does that mean
On
you
my
have big
toe-
wide
My toes are
hand?
squished, like, and I get knee pain and everything. And, like, the second I get home, shoes come off.
It's because you have more contact with the ground.
But I walk around with no shoes on as much as I possibly can. And since I started wearing these barefoot shoes, like they're fairly minimal. They don't have like the arches and the heels, and my foot's not kicked up. My foot's flat.
Did you go to a physio?
The physio told me to wear Asics and gave me insoles, and like the pain went away, but then my feet were getting squashed into the shoes.
I know.
And then, but if I ever went without wearing those shoes, then I'd be back to square one. I'd be sore again. But as soon as I start wearing the barefoot shoes, all my problems went away.
Well, if you get all the bones, like that's another part of the treatment. Like you're actually just double checking that all bones in the feet are moving; they're not blocked. Because at the end of the day, it's the first thing to hit the ground.
And can the type of runner...
Well, it's runners in general. Like ideally, if you go back again thousands of years, even if you look at some of the Kenyans, they still will run in barefoot because that's what the way that we're taught, and they develop the right muscles. But again, the level of tension someone holds will be held in the actual feet, but not. It's more so that the bones don't have to move anymore because the runner takes the load. So then that's why you try walk across the yard as an adult now, and the stones are sore. Whereas the babies and the kids can run no problem because the feet haven't fully been destroyed. So ideally, you want to be keeping a child out of runners for as long as possible. Like.
So they sorted your problems?
Yeah, I don't really get the knee pain or anything anymore now since I start wearing these.
Yeah, like it just shows though. So like some people will just literally specialise on feet, for example. But we were saying that's again... Yeah, an addition, you're trying to go right. Like when we say head to toe treatment or an NCT or whatever, you genuinely, especially with older people, you're trying to fix the neck and fix the feet first, and then we go upwards and meet ourselves in the middle somewhere. Do you get me?
Like I had to relearn how to walk.
Yeah,
because I was so used to just pounding my heel down.
Yeah.
And then I started to
aggressive.
So what do you just run around on your tippy toes now?
No, but I just don't pound my heel down when I'm walking.
Oh.
Like I kind of put my foot a bit flatter down until my heel goes down first. But I used to just be pounding my feet down because I was so used to walking around in shoes.
Even if I had a sore knee or sore hip and I wore that, I know that I'd just swap the sore knee for getting beat up. Anyway, Shane's back here again, and I think now due to me getting excited the last time, I didn't ask some of the questions I was supposed to ask you. So I just started off with a few late ones because people were wondering. Where'd you go to school?
Primary school was Bellevue in Mullingar, St. Coleman's.
Big school?
Up there, sorry. St. Coleman's, and then CBS. Yeah, CBS was an all boys school until they brought in Repeat, and then Repeat was mixed.
Your Repeat year?
I went back to Repeat to crack. Yeah, I was too young. I was 16 doing Leaving Cert.
You were young starting school.
Yeah. First time doing Leaving Cert was 16, turned 17 towards the end of the last exam, and then second year again, still only 17, turning 18. So the first year, I was just being honest, was too immature. What would you be going to college? I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do.
Brothers and sisters?
One brother, Darren, 4 years older.
And when you left school, when you did leave it, did you know what you wanted to do at that time? Or
well, at the first year, I had actually got there auctioneering. Yeah, I wanted to do something in sales.
That kind? Or selling houses?
Jesus Christ. Yeah, just selling houses, because I remember just going, it's commission, and the commission would be a lot higher. That's nearly where the top process. I enjoyed selling. I was always tricking about with stuff from 14, getting a few pound off my mother, going around painting fences, or
were you good in school?
Burning CDs. No, I hated school. I was always described as being distracted all the time. And some teachers would say, the funny man in the group, but wouldn't apply myself. But my mind was always
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when did you do auctioneering in college first?
No, that's since I turned that down and went back to college and repeated, and then I done retail and services management and DIT. So it was kind of 2 years before I finished that. I said, look, I'm going to make a proper shot at the fitness thing. And so I done strength and conditioning in the evening then on top of the degree.
So what happened that you went, oh, I want to get into fitness? And
Well, I know this sounds the typical thing, and thank God it worked out. But because you do hear an awful lot of young lads now saying, oh, I love the gym, I'd love to own a gym, but that's not the reason to own a gym. Like it's difficult, and you normally fall out of love with the gym when you own one. It's very difficult to find that balance, and a lot of lads, you'll see them, slowly deteriorate through their 20s, just losing that shape because they spend every hour in the gym, so it's difficult to go back in and do your own training. I was just, as I said before, I was that skinny young lad, went to college, genuinely got in, loved the gym, but it kind of became more than that. Myself and my friend, Paul at the time, we said, "Jeez, there's nothing in Mullingar." We were living in Dublin. We said, "There's nothing at all." So we went into our local clubhouse, set it up with €690 cost us, and I just robbed the speaker out of the house and designed. I was telling you that on the way down. We just designed a body pump class, which basically was.
This was before you went to college doing it.
No, this was after college. So we finished the degree in whatever time, say May, June, and we done our first kids speed camp, which was a week long. That was our first thing we done in July, and we ran, I think, two speed camps in
this
that
is
summer.
After training in college and doing the normal route that most people go down.
Yeah, so we I think we rented gates. I can't remember, but anyways, we done speed camping, built it up very quickly, to be fair, and then just took over the premises we're in now about a year and a half in. Just got so big so quick. We couldn't stay in Lomans anymore. It was getting almost. It was brilliant to have it, but it did get to a point of embarrassment. It was like, geez, it's a bit rough now. We moving the furniture out of your way to do a class and stuff. So it was just the right time,
And were you promoting that through word of mouth, or had you started your Instagram page at that time?
No, I never didn't have any Instagram. It was all private Facebook pages. So you'd comment.
Instagram probably wasn't that big back then, was it?
I was late to it. I know a lot of people who were on it and just using it for whatever use, but I genuinely wouldn't be great at technology. Like I would, like buying a new phone even, I'd be dreading transferring stuff across. But honest to God, back then, the same thing. I was like, what's Instagram about? But I started Instagram in August 2014 when I decided I quit the county with Westmead.
When you started the gym first, you were playing county, were you?
Yeah, exactly, and it was probably just unfortunate the year I was in. Like, he came off the back of winning the senior championship with Lomans, went in, we were flying fit obviously because we went longer than everyone else.
Is Lomans a good team?
Yeah, we hadn't won a championship in 52 years until we won it in 2013, and
that's a nice dry spell.
Yeah, so when we won 2013, we lost the semi, took our eye off the ball, and probably in 2014.
There's nothing worse than losing a semi.
And then we won 15, 16, 17. Went to Wexford in 18.
You were there for all that?
Yeah.
Training like a fucker?
Yeah, just exactly. Gave it the same focus I'm putting into work now was the focus I put to football. 20, 30 hours a week. Just never switched off. Be down doing your own bit.
And doing the
bodybuilding. For it. Yeah, to be fair, the bodybuilding kind of came at a latter stage. Like the 2013 stage, big time, was totally focus driven on football. And
when you were doing your training for Lomans and training for the county, and you were doing bodybuilding, would your trainers, GAA wise, would they have been like, "Cop on, do what we're asking you, don't be doing that"?
Yeah, no. Look, in the later years, and even players used to get angry with me, and I had to say to them, "Listen, I mean, you got to see the bigger picture. Like, my job is what I'm doing. My goal here is to do bodybuilding for a couple of years, prove it to young kids that you can get big and stay very fast, and you can get as ripped as you want. Doesn't slow you down." And I remember, you would have had disagreements with some of the players saying, "Well, you just worry about yourself. Like, I mean, I've never gone out yet and got roasted. So what's your problem? Like, I'm just giving a little bit more time to this, but I'm still here playing football."
You were trying to start
it was a totally, and it was, Jesus, it was some phenomenal workout, but like, so it was worth it. And I was always looking at the bigger picture, and I guess I was always probably going to end up slightly work driven if I wasn't playing a professional.
You were actually playing a match this morning, weren't you?
Yeah, but only gone back doing a little bit now. It'd be fairly harmless, but I'm not training. I kind of just told them, look, I was honest and said I'm not going to attempt to play any first team stuff. But if you're stuck for lads in second or third team, no problem. I'll come and play, and I'm beginning to enjoy it now because
Pressure's off.
Yeah, not that I wouldn't say I don't care. Of course I care. You're competitive when you go out. No matter what standard you want to win. But I genuinely show up and just whatever it is will be, you know. Fuck it.
Do you like cars?
Love them.
You had a fair nice car when I first started chatting to you.
Yeah.
He's taking track days and everything.
Some job.
Met him one day with the back of the car full of tires, heading up to Mondello.
I had a bit awful bad luck with an X5. I had a BMW. I lost, Jesus, 18,000 on it in 1 year. Engine, like, car went on fire. Fucking gearboxes, everything fell over.
Go away.
Yeah, and
Where'd you buy it? Shame him. Come on, shame him, bastards.
Well, private, but yeah, I bought the i30N then. 2 litre was it? 280 brake or 290 brake, but just the handling, the track mode of it was just.
Was that 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive?
No, 2, yeah. But phenomenal when you press the N mode. Oh, just frightening, yeah. It was unbelievable.
Just woke up one morning and go out the gap.
No, a lad sent me, imagine it's shocking too, but I was wasn't an impulse as such. I was pondering on it for a while, and the next thing I get this WhatsApp message off a lad in O'Brien's, and he says, that joke could suit you, and he sent me a video of the exhaust popping. And I bought it something like 3 days later. It just came at the right time, but don't regret it at all. I loved it.
Why'd you get rid of it?
Made money on it in the end.
It's always a good reason.
Yeah. Sold the buyout was far cheaper on the PCP than what I was getting it for private. So I think I made eight grand on it or something. Based on the buyout, I mean. Do you get me?
Dream car?
No. Oh, a Nissan Skyline GTR.
GTR? I wouldn't have seen it.
R35.
Wow.
Nearly bought one a few years ago and then bought an apartment instead.
That was a good move.
Fuck's sake.
You sold that?
Yep.
Moved into your new house?
We did. It's very, very lucky now, I have to say, with that buy. It was a lot of hardship at the time now.
Last year, when you showed me that house,
I know.
and you told me, and I won't lie, I thought that lad's dreaming. He's going to do most of that himself. And you did. Couldn't believe it.
9 months. 9 months wrapped up, done, dusted. And we have the other project. Probably halfway there, say. Yeah, it won't be long now, but that'll be done by May, the retreat.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
You promised me and
I
Vicky
will,
were coming first.
I'll bring you up.
Everyone can hear that now. If he's telling lies, I'll fucking get someone bigger than me to kick the shit out of you. I meant to ask you, right, the last day. I just forgot. But do you follow any fitness-related social influencers? Do you follow anyone on Instagram?
Probably only following some that happen to be fitness because I'm just... they would have been on a plan with me maybe at some point or something. I wouldn't be a great man to be on it myself because your mind is thinking, right, I have to keep ahead of my own content a bit. And
so it's a time thing.
Yeah, there would be, like I said, we talked before, there'd be odd times where I might be scrolling through and something might distract you or you go, oh.
Yeah.
You know, and I might want to unfollow, but only, like, I might have absolutely no connection to the person, but no, I suppose in that industry, I feel everybody is really trying hard to sell, and they all, I suppose, are trying to, like, for example, the young guy now coming up is looking at a page that might have, say, 100,000 followers, for example, and they assume that guy is making a lot of money, and he might have a little contract here and there with a bit of free clothes or something. And they're out in the forest getting the professional shots done with the quote underneath. But you have to, well, I personally believe, like, you know, you have to get to a level to be able to be doing that. That's just what I would think. I would never put myself out grudges. You have to really start proving and achieving some things to be able to throw a quote out there. And I think that industry in general, I try and... I've seen it, as I said the last time briefly to you, and it's very misleading, and... I feel so. I'll be honest, I see some people and I often write to them and say, you know, how are you getting on, man? Because I know they're struggling. I know they have maybe one child and it's a flog, like, and they're not making money, the poor old fuckers, and they probably don't have the knowledge to how to run social media either. And it's a hard game. Like,
well, the social media thing, you kind of have to learn as you go, don't you?
Yeah,
if you're trying to mix it in with a business that you're doing. Yeah,
and I think you have to be able to constantly look as well, going, is this working? Like I said, I personally, and I never have any, I like to think I can be an example to some young people. Like, I would have done the whole typing in, like, what hashtags work, what hashtags get more views, what hashtag gets more likes. If I put a picture up of me fucking at 6 or 7% body fat and I happen to be training in Marbella and it got 350 likes, you automatically go, Jesus, okay, that one worked. And you go and repeat that. And you get sucked down a very dangerous hole then where...
The sexy.
Yeah,
all
not
about
even.
sexy.
It's the mindset. You're chasing the wrong... Like, as I said, views and likes don't pay bills. You have to create an audience. But like it's like in another level. I could introduce you to somebody who's a millionaire, and I said, Dave, I can't do any more for you now. I can only put you in front of him. It's up to you after that. So that's essentially what you're trying to do on social media. You're trying to gain an audience and then convert that audience. So you're turning in, it's like fanocracy is what to say. Like, and you're trying to gain fans first of all. Let them. Well, that's what I've tried to do. You let them try and get to know you, and then at the end of the day, you have a business and you're providing a service that is. It's not a.
If you weren't
bad one or
doing what
whatever.
you're doing now, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think I'd like to be in kind of managerial, like salesy role where I'm maybe going in and trying to analyze or guide people and make teams work together and pick apart the reason why it's not working, or even my dream job, believe it or not, like what I'm doing I love and I've my full aspirations, but if I ever got to a point it'd be to go into a company and actually look at it, or even in the gym industry, go in and have a look. Like one guy was down there the other week and I just was able to tell him nearly how much he was making a month. And he was there, how'd you know that? And I was like, well, just because I've been there, done that. I've seen the highs and the lows of gyms, what they make. If you tell me you've 100 customers or 200 and so on. But yeah, I'd love to go in and just try and clean a business up, like put systems and processes in place and try and clean it up and move on to the next one.
Sure, you could do it, yeah. Email Shane Flynn. Who do you admire
Clean
or
up
who do you
the
look
eye.
up to? Have you anyone in the world that you look up to or admire?
Jeez, you have me now in a way for straight. I don't know why I'm just gone blank.
Because it's a hard question.
Jesus, you have me. I don't know. You're gonna have to give me a minute. I'll
Colin,
have to come back to
you? Probably me, isn't it?
Do I look up to anybody?
You look up to me.
There's different levels, I think, of looking up to people. I think there's different levels of looking up to people. Like I know people who are just a normal parent of 2 or 3 kids, and they're doing unbelievable stuff, and no one knows. They're not on social media. They're a seriously hard worker. It's phenomenal. Their attitude is so meticulous in the sense of they just refuse to look at the negatives. Their shit days and stuff, but they're just ploughing on, and essentially they're harder working than, let's say, some of the people in the fitness industry who are shouting from the rooftops, saying...
I've noticed that in the last few years. It's that warrior that is just suffering through life, getting through stuff, and you're going, wow, if anyone knew about that. You know, and then, like, we've talked about it a few times, the amount of people that are looked up to in social media that have no basis. For some reason, we have them hyped up for no reason. It's.
But social media allows you as well to create your own hype, and it can. That's the problem then for the young guy growing up. It's the aspiring, and it's going, who am I looking out to? And then like I said, I was just very lucky now to have like I remember asking some social media people if they wanted to come down when I was doing my bodybuilding days. And I remember one girl, she had 94,000 followers living in Dublin. And she says to me, yeah, Jiz, I'll just have to see what days the bus or what times the buses are going. She's about 26 or something. And I said, okay. And I was like, right, oh, you'll be getting the bus, like, as in, you won't be driving down. Okay, yeah, that makes it trickier. And that was grand. And then it came down to actual money then. And it turned out, yeah, all the posts and all the pictures, she hand on heart had no money. Like, it was just living at home, and all the images that would be going up would be in front of the mirror in her room. Like, and that was very scary talk, going, wow, the amount of females that would be looking at her going, she's flying it, she's in with My Protein, or she's in with Alpha Elite, or she's in with something, but it's only an old discount code at the end of the day. And I think they
at the
will
start you can get a little bit excited over, oh, I got a hat.
I competed with a fella. I was only scrolling through my Instagram back to the first post there, just showing somebody the other day, and I came across the guy that I competed against in England, and he's not even on Instagram anymore. I was like, fuck.
Oh, where's he gone?
Just the same thing. He would have had a lot of views and a lot of likes because he looked well, but he wasn't actually business. He hadn't a business model, or he hadn't a business mind, and he obviously just decided. I know another guy the other day, he's 33, and he just decided, and he was running a gym in Dublin as well. He just packed it. He just realised it's not sustainable. I'm getting to an age that I need something solid, because it's not very hard to make money out of a gym. Like, if you're trying to go to a point where you set up a security for the rest of your life, and he just fucked back to carpentry.
Do you think you'll ever do bodybuilding again?
Never, not a chance, not.
No
Too
way.
much time, so I could put time into trying to break Ireland and go to England and go to Dubai, and that same focus is 20, 35, 40, 50, 80 hours sometimes of drive and obsessiveness, and that's what the bodybuilding was. Every moment of my day was, I'm competing, I have to eat right, I have to be ready, I have to train, and that was the only conversation in my life at that time. So now I've recognised that, so Masters will be the next thing probably, and I was doing it prior to lockdown in neuroscience, and I just knew it was the wrong time, so I pulled a pin on it. But that'll be the sort of focus and drive the next time.
Since our last podcast, there was so many young lads messaged me and came over to me, and there was a lot of the same questions, but a lot with GAA guys were asking. I'll actually ask the question to Ega. How do you think young Irish GAA athletes are trained now?
Are trained?
How do you think they're handled and trained?
Well, handled, I presume, well, I would take that as man management. Really poor. I guess the Sunshine and Rainbows is the elite level, and the GPA saying how they support various this and that, which I don't believe, to be honest. I've seen it and I've different times where it's all the show pony at the end of the day, and they're making millions a year. But when you get into the nitty gritty of GAA,
who's making millions? The
GAA
GAA
be making millions, and whoever's working is getting a very nice thing. They pump a lot of money back into the club scenes, but it's when you get down into the nitty gritty of it, and even at a high level, there's a lack of support for saying, okay, football is not the be all. Like, you can see a shift now. Like, I mean, look at Dublin and look at the guys walking away. They're beginning to cop on, going, I'm not staying around here till I'm 34 or 5, because there's more to life. So it was okay 10 years ago or 15 years ago to play football right through till you were 38, 40, and you worked a normal job. But life has got harder. Life is more expensive, and people are now realising, fuck, like, I got sucked into a cult. One of the best footballers in Westmeath, without fail, left. He went out for a J1, played with us in Lomans, was going to be the next Desi Dolan, and went out, and he was obsessed. He never ever stopped training, kicking left, right, and he went to New York, and it just bang.
What do you mean?
He never came back. He said, holy shit, I was just
what
in
happened?
a cult. He just realised the GA can suck you in and make you go, you're not to go on holidays, you're not to go to parties, you have to make sure you don't drink coming into championships. You know, this is your main focus.
But is that not
but
the
there's no
discipline
support
that they need?
I would,
Or is it a balance that you're
exactly,
talking?
the balance would be you are chewed up and spit out at the end. And as they say, and some managers actually just say it, like, if you're injured, you're no use to me. So as big of a business as it is, yeah, look, I personally think it's a badly run business. I really do, yeah.
If you could make a change in GAA, what
You would have
that
to
change?
do what the likes of Dublin done. You started at the roots. Like, people said you should divide Dublin in two. No, they put in 10 to 12 years of phenomenal work from the bottom up, and they got this attitude in of, if you want to play for Dublin, I mean, we all have to, there has to be a education put in, a discipline. Like, when they
For
were
the
at their
players
peak,
or the trainers?
the trainers or the trainers were educated. Like, they pumped massive money into educating them. Now, unfortunately, if you're down in the likes of Westmeath, you're relying on some lad coming in because
No one else will do
he's
it.
handy, exactly, and you're beginning to go, you can't compare. Like Jim Gavin, different things, like the level of knowledge, the discipline in his life, the army background, but he set the standards, or Alex Ferguson of the world, they set the standards, and it filters through, and I think that's how a good business is run. The guy at the top is setting the standards, and he's involved all the way through. No egos in the way, no manipulation, no mind games. So
They're
work
caught
hard
rotten
and you get
from
rewarded.
the top when the head guys in GAA should be giving money to the trainers down at the bottom, because people have to give their time. It's like someone has to do it.
Well, it's advertised though as, and it's about the community. But within every club, then of course you're going to have the odd thing where one player is half threatening to get transfer, and it's like, look, stay, and that's fine. But this is why the difficulty for them to go from amateur to professional is because the setup is not there, and the level of intelligence is not going to be there, unfortunately. Do you get me? So there's so many structures that would have to be put in place to make sure there's fair play, versus a lad saying all of a sudden, "Good Jesus, I'm going to bring a lad in from junior. I'm going to get him in on the county," and he sneaks him in the door, and he's paid professional. So it's just, it'll never go professional, and it will never work, unfortunately.
When you go down training, do you ever? That was very unprofessional. Now your phone going off, is it?
My house alarm.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Fully
9
armed.
people in the house robbing it as we speak.
Fully armed.
When you go down to training now, or when you used to go down training with GAA and been a trainer, would you ever be looking at training going on and go, Jess, this is some knowledge, or this is crazy stuff? They're going to injure people.
I think some people were able to say to me that they'd like it when you were fully focused on it, and you would try and set a higher standard all the time, or you demand more, and that can be quite draining for someone who just wants to enjoy it. So I suppose it was going. Again, it's just a hard balance to strike. Everybody's in a different phase in their life. So like right now, I'm in a very different phase. But where I just simply said, like, I can't understand why some lads would come down on Tuesday, Friday, Sunday for 10 years, but never really progress. And I struggled with that. And in the end, when I, again, changed paths and moved away and said, right, I'm going to put a little bit more time into my business and less into the football, then, of course, again, things flourish. But I would like to, I'd like to go back. I always like giving back. Like when I was younger, like proper young, I remember watching Batman one time, and he was a philanthropist, and I was like, that's class. And it was the goal to be able to be in that position to give back. And I've done it before with my clubs. Yeah, definitely. And I would like to spoil them rotten. Like, I'd love to take a team and do a whole Snoop Dogg job on it.
What did Snoop Dogg do? Give him loads of weed?
No, I bought a big, huge bus for them and everything. And
I
catered them out. It was class, yeah. I like, in our gym as well, it was always about trying to give them the same training that a professional athlete would. So even if you're 5 stone overweight, you're going to be trained like as close to a professional as possible.
Yeah.
You know, you get to feel what that is like.
Do you watch your diet? Like, you're in great shape all the time.
No.
Do you eat what you want?
Yeah, not anymore. Like I said, again, just what I went through, like the bodybuilding thing was just such a commitment for so long. Of course, there was going to be a back off phase, probably for maybe 6 or 7 months, and then start to clean it up, saying, right, fair enough, not doing bodybuilding anymore, but I still have to be healthy. So I got to be very careful. People were on about the nutrition thing the last time, like, you know, the different things, like watching the gluten or the sugar, for example, rather than getting caught up in the protein, carbs and fats. So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to leave you today to direct this one.
Irish people's diets.
Yeah, so like Irish people diet is based on all the ads we've seen. So like people say, Jesus, I didn't know porridge. Like, I would have always eat cereal in the morning, porridge in the morning, honey in the morning, whatever it was. And you got to look at the type of sugar first of all, and then you got to look at, I said I would have done a huge amount of stuff based on insulin. And I'm saying, like, is there a need to consume the sugar in the morning, regardless good, bad or not? So when
you say sugar, does that mean the carbohydrates?
Yeah, so breads, jam on the bread in the morning,
cereal.
Orange juices in the morning. That's a cereal. That is a breakfast, and that's the standard type of way. And you're trying to flip that on its head completely to take in just fats and protein.
So we shouldn't be eating cereals
fats
in the morning.
No, there's no shouldn't. Like, I mean, at all. There's no, like, this is the big thing. There is no shouldn't. But if you want to get deeper into nutrition, you would stop looking at the basics of calories. Like, so the typical PT guy will shout about calories, and he will persist to post about its calories in versus calories out. And you're going, that's not true at all. Because if you are, after being diagnosed with something, and you are eating sugars as 2,000 calories, and you're trying to lose weight, the sugar is going to feed the disease. And that's a fact. So that's a definite chat.
So everyone's in a different position and should be on a different diet.
Yeah, well, the diabetes and all that stuff as well. Again, every time you consume a sugar, the pancreas has to release insulin in order to handle the sugar. So imagine it like a big tube, and you have what you call, like, say for example, post-workout, you have these vessels that open. So post-workout is the time to absolutely influx
Like
Carbohydrates.
an hour after you
Carbohydrates like 80-20. Like it's 80% carbohydrates, 0% fats, and 20% protein. That is your window. So if you're a training in the morning type person, then you have your Irish style high sugar content breakfast, because that is your window to soak back up as much glycogen stores as possible. Then as your day continues and you go back to your normal job and you may be sitting for the rest of the day, you cut all carbohydrates out and you just minimize, and you will work through that day with protein and fat sources. So if your calories was 2,500 for the day, and you're looking to overall view nutrition on a deeper level, you would start to say, right, the first thing you say is when is my workout? So if it's a thing where you train in the morning or you train in the evening, that's your window. If, for example, you train morning and evening, you have 2 windows now. So you split your carbohydrates. You might be on, say, 350 grams of carbs for the day, which is 12, so 1,400 calories coming through carbohydrates, because you've 4 calories per every 1 gram of carb. Same for protein, and then 7 to 9, it's always up in the air for fats. So the higher fat content will drive the calories up much higher as well. So you don't have to eat as much in each meal.
Why is it all so complicated? So for the likes of me, just say I get up in the morning and then go into work. Lazy bastard. I'm not doing that in that day.
When someone starts transformations now, it's just literally, right, we've given you a meal plan to start. That way you don't have to think. So just follow this for the first 2 or 3 weeks. Then as time goes on, we're just looking to develop some new habits. So all I'm asking you is, if you don't train in the morning, just minimize the sugar content. Look to increase them post workouts. Be very careful of, for example, if someone says you're allowed to have 100 grams of carbs post workout, but you keep choosing white bread, for example. So now you're not talking about carbs anymore. You're talking about the gluten effect. And you're talking about the level of energy your body will have to consume to maybe break down that again. So, as I said, like, I would have just put a beginner's guide together and an advanced guide together and make it very simplified on that type of stuff.
What food
everybody should always be trying
eating?
to manage the insulin release, is what I'd be trying to say.
Is there any food that you think no one should be eating? Like, is there foods
no, there's not, because again, it's now when you ask me, do I have a diet? No, but I try and have a balance. So yeah, I'm some man teach height, no problem to say it. No, do you know what I mean? It's trying to find it. It's just getting a balance. So I went through the whole thing of, sorry, I can't have that. Sorry, I can't have that. No, that's not in my diet. So I'd done that for 3 or 4 years to then go, you just want to find a balance now. At the minute, am I currently following that guide? No. Don't have a direct goal right now, but
the minute you do, you can change, and then boom, it's in it.
Yeah, like I went and got my bloods checked and done a bit of kinesiology testing on food and stuff like
What's
that.
kinesiology?
It's all energy and stuff. It's, some people love it, some people just say no. Basically, if I done a kinesiology test, I back it up with a real blood test then. So she'll come and analyse me and say, such a thing is high or such a thing is low, and I go and ask the doctor, then will you check for these specific things, and then I can back it up with that. But yeah, anytime I've had very, very good experience with a woman I go to for kinesiology. She's been so accurate, it's unbelievable. Like,
another question: what kind of things make you nervous, or what do you worry about? Is there anything that you worry about?
My biggest worry is if I have kids and all the effort and time or knowledge I try and put in, will they turn out CUNT?
That's another question I have to ask you. Can I go from there?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder this myself. Can you tell what kind? Remember we were talking about adrenaline and cortisol and the way people end up, like whether they're going to be a cunt or not, basically.
Yeah.
Can you tell what kind of person your kids are going to be? Or do we actually create them by how we rear them? Or is it just in their genes?
It's mad that you asked that, because honestly, that's a question that I was telling you, like I was going to a psychologist myself and I posed that question as well, going, why, like, for example, would one child respond very different than another child to trauma? So getting in the car after a match and the father maybe saying something or not, one child might respond different. For example, getting in trouble in school, all these different things. So that's a question. I'm not even sure if people know that, but I think the big thing is what I would be trying to do is I'd be always looking for traits, like, so naturally driven. Like, does the child just need direction, but he's a constant, he doesn't want to quit? Is there almost a level of trying to play mind games, a manipulative skill there? Because even that skill is defined as worse, or not a great one, but that technically a sale, when you think about it, is almost a manipulative technique. It's at the end of the day, like one of the sales book I read before was, a sale is about getting you from point A to point B.
So is sales a manipulative thing? Can be positive?
Well, yeah, like as long as, like, obviously some people out there are selling terrible products and they're good salespeople and people are raging to spend the money on it and that sort of thing. So that's down to a person's ethics and morals at the end of the day. Versus if you're selling a good product and you're well able to sell, but then you're going into communication skills, you're looking at processing skills, you're looking at how they react to stuff. Are they a child that suppresses emotion, or are they a child?
What could I do potentially to my kids and not know I'm doing it to do harm?
Like at the end of the day, like I'm looking forward to the challenge. Please God, I've healthy kids, but I'm looking forward to the challenge of trying to watch that and analyze that and go, I have to be very careful that if I give out at the end of the day, you're like, I've heard you be saying before, like, say for example, if you gave out shit to your son right now, like, you're everything to him. So you have the ability to crush him and you have the ability to lift him up, like. So you mightn't be thinking, and you could give out, and you might shout at him. Now I know you said, and particularly you're not that type of guy. You don't do that. You don't raise your voice around the house or anything like that.
But you could fuck him up by not doing that too.
Well, you might know. And I had a great chat with a woman the other day, and she just said, "Juz, I wish I could just go back and do it all again." Because she's like, now I like the little bit that she's beginning to learn. She's now looking back at the way her kids were all very different. You know, I know another parent, and I would have posed that question. She said, "No, I'm telling you, I reared them identical, and they are so different." So that's where I wonder: is it genetics?
So then, is it just one incident? Because you're not going to have the exact same incidents with your kids.
One young guy was working with me for about 8 weeks, and he was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at 18. Like, and I said, "Jeez, man, no way." I said, "It's not a chance. Come up here till we have a look." But straight away on meeting him, he was the most nervous fella I've ever seen. So he got his bloods done. I said, "Will you just get
How would you know he was nervous?
Yeah, everything, and his voice as well. You would hear his voice breaking, stuff like that. The eye contact, crossing his arms, maybe even crossing the legs, like as in standing, crossing his legs, shuffling, looking at the floor, all the different body language cues. But basically, and he was in 8 weeks, so I put something up one time. We were working all the time and talking it out. And basically, it was about 7 weeks in, and I put a video up on Instagram, and he wrote to me then privately on the online phone. He said, "I can't believe it." He said, "I've just remembered." And I'd been always on to him that never happened, blah, blah. And he said he was only about 15 doing a part-time job. And he said the boss absolutely ate him in front of everybody. He said he made a mistake, and he said he tore him apart. And he said it clicked with him now that he really went in on himself that time. But he wouldn't have known at that particular time. It's only now that he's constantly asking himself these questions. And that's where I believe the memories are stored.
So I could have, if you shouted at if your kid had this traumatic experience, they could hold it and not know what they're holding.
I suppose, in one line to try and answer your question, first thing would be to identify, does one particular child react better to an arm around the shoulder or a bit of a bollocking? The other thing then I would say was, if you are going to deliver a message, it has to be in a constructive manner. So even if the message was to be, I'm going to have to highlight some of the mistakes you made or the flaws you made, you would always start with a positive. And you'd say, listen, or for example, you might go, right, what I'm about to say to you, I'm not saying this now to hurt you, for example. Now, I don't know how young or what age you're talking about, but as a communication skill, yeah, you'd be trying your hardest to open the door first where the person drops their guard. Whereas, if I had to come to you and the first 5 things out of my mouth was what you've done wrong, you've the wall up and you're not listening now. So you've switched even the side of the brain you use, and now you're now thinking and you're listening to every word versus absorbing what I'm saying. So I would, like, even my staff, I would always pride myself on trying my hardest to man manage and women manage, if you like, but you're trying to understand that some people don't work well with getting onto them. They go very quiet, they go in on themselves a little, and I have to come back to them to get that word out of them, because they mightn't have they might be able to communicate as well as another member of staff, for example. So making sure that they understand it. It's an open, like a child needs to, what I would think in my way of, or any human needs to feel is, it's an open two-way conversation. Please feel free to say what you have to say. Don't suppress that, and don't be afraid to say something to me. So I have it open in the gym where it's like you're to say whatever you need to say to me. So even if it was hurt or even if I was angry, there'll be no reaction there and then. I will deal with it later, or we'll talk later, and so on. But they get comfortable then knowing, and you've told them, please come and tell me anytime you're not happy. So you really open that line, but you have to make sure that you're strong enough to open that line. So for example, if you did receive information that's not good, it's not to be affected, because after all, you said, please feel free to say what you say. Whereas if you react, they go, well, I'm not, their memory now is, okay, the last time I said to him I didn't like the way this is done, he got tick with me and he was off with me for a few days.
And then you're back to the delayed confrontation thing.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, it's important
to
educate.
Have you ever had anyone in the clinic, a patient, that you figured out it was something that happened to him when they were kids and they didn't know?
Yeah, so we one actually just literally came to mind. One young lad brought his mother up, and she was probably quite old when she had him, because he was only 20 and she was well on now. She was
90.
No. She was probably, I think she was probably coming close to maybe 70 or something. But we had the audiovisual treatment room upstairs anyways, and he said she had polymyalgia.
What's that?
Sure, it's another name for fucking fibromyalgia and total body pain and inflammation of joints and tissue and so on.
Well, it's just this broad thing.
Yeah, but a very broad name that they started to give to people because...
when they don't know what it is.
Yeah, like it's just one thing after the next. It's hip 1 minute, it's my shoulder the next, then it's migraines, then it's this, but it's relentless. So they diagnose with an umbrella name of something like that. So straight away, obviously, we were looking at that. We were trying to chat to her, but she was, it was crazy. Yeah, we couldn't really get through to her. Like, she was so dazed all the time. But anyways, it was just, she went to do the audiovisual room, and we says, right, well, look, this is very straightforward. Like, this is the headset, this is the goggles. You'll be up here for about 45 minutes. Don't worry, there'll be nobody else in. We'll be back up and we'll wake you. So if you fall asleep, you fall asleep. Oh, no. Oh, where are you going? I'm terrified.
To fall asleep?
No, terrified to be left alone. And who else will be here? She was panicking, like.
This was the mum?
Yeah, and the son was like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, relax. So this was going on. So I knew then, obviously not, so we took her out of that. And then I had a chat with him, and I says, do you know why she would do something like that now? And this went on and went on. And then it did come out that something happened to her, like one night somebody came into the room and molested her, basically, or whatever.
From the time she was young?
So she retained probably so much fear all her life. But yeah, she was probably the most nervous person I've ever seen. Like.
And what did she suffer with? Anything else? Just when panic attacks?
That's
when
what she was on her own? Given at that time, yeah. And maybe arthritis in different joints and stuff because of the stiffness. Like, she was just like concrete, like. And then the cognitive level was so fucked because she was on so much medication, she couldn't actually absorb any information. So, like, as you're talking to her, she's half thinking of something else to say or dismiss it or deflect it, or because she doesn't want to let it in. And then, obviously, then there is sometimes people are very oblivious to that stuff. Like the podcast, I was very shocked with how many people, it was as if they've never heard.
Yeah, I was
a bit shocked, but then people said, no, it's not normal conversation.
I hadn't heard either before. Yeah. I have another question for you. This is about me now. The question that I have. Why do I wake up in the morning for no reason, just being in bad form?
Why would you?
Why does that happen? Why could I go to bed in great form some morning or some night and then wake up? Do you ever wake up in the bad state of bed?
Yeah, I don't know, like, either a bad sleep or had you burnt yourself out leading into that night or something.
No, yeah, but you could...
I would find if I woke up in bad form, there was a couple of big days leading into it and you just weren't ready to start into another day, or you weren't fully replenished with your energy or something, you know?
But it weirds me out. I don't mind mornings and you say, I know I'm tired, haven't got enough sleep. Do you know the morning you wake up and there's no reason for it, but everyone's rotting your hole? Do you never have that?
No, Jesus, yeah.
I often wonder, did something happen to me when I sleep? Did some fucking ghoul or ghost get into my head and weird me out? Or is it something that I ate? Or is there like, what is going on?
I always would have found your body if you listen to it enough, like it would be able to it gets itself ready for something. Even sometimes somebody might say, Jesus, there's something not right with me. I know people who are very intuitive, like, and it happens to me, and you're going, fuck, I hate to say it, but like, geez, there's some bad news coming or something. And then it might not even be bad news, but something might break, something might happen that's pure and utter hardship. And you're going, and that pissed off feeling or that pepped up anxiety is gone then, because it's like, that's what it was. It was like it was warning you. And that's a whole different field of
I do wonder,
stuff
is
whether people believe
it
that.
subconsciously unresolved issues annoying you?
Yeah, but you could that's the other side of it too. You could overthink, and that's the big thing with this, is I always try to simplify it. So like if someone says, like, go back to the article, and it's going, what did you recognize? But like, obviously people now have just literally wrote, hi, heard David Cuddy's podcast, blown away, I really want to book in with you. So when they get to the clinic now, they're saying, no, geez, I read the article upstairs, and there's definitely, I'm this and this and this and this. So now they've moved on a step, you see. It's not up to me to tell them that they've done that transition themselves, if that makes sense. So
another question. So when we were talking about the different types of people, cortisol, adrenaline, and all the other sub people that we were talking about, in layman's terms, like you're explaining to a 5-year-old, how do you know what person you are? How do you know what type of person
we have
you
talked to 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and we've done kids clinics. And again, I just say to the parent, have a quick read of that and see what you think. Like, and they're going, oh Jesus, yeah. And they might say, like, I remember one time my father brought down his 2 sons, and I went back out to him and I said, so I'm after working on them for a few minutes, and I said, see the other fella, not bowled, but a daring little fucker. I said, literally last out the door. You have to ask him 10 times to do stuff. I says, no issues with any confidence, like that type of stuff. I said, whereas the other guy, very hard on himself, beats himself up all the time, really, really worries, stresses over everything, and he couldn't believe it. He said, you couldn't have said it any better. And he said, how do you know that? And I said, you can see it in every part, from the start of the treatment to the end. The body language again, the looking at you, the basics of asking a question and him being able to interact with you. The eye contact, huge, like the stuttering in the voice, the break in his voice, and the breathing.
Yeah,
that's
breathing.
the piece.
Explain the breathing.
So you can tell a lot. Like, a lot of people have tried. I get a lot of work. Do you follow? I said this the last time. No, I didn't. That's a lie. I said that in a post. A lot of people write to me and say, do you follow such type of breath work, for example?
I asked you one day, James Nestor, deep
and I wouldn't
breathing.
have a clue who they are. I hand on heart wouldn't. I just said no. And again, the breathing thing came to me by watching all these people, and then all of a sudden they kept slotting into this category, and they all breathed the same.
What do you mean?
So I would say to them, they'd be lying off in the bed, they're like this, and I'm telling them to relax, for example, and they're so, let's say, eye contact, they're fixed on the roof, and I'm talking to them, and the natural, and somebody else who's very relaxed will be actually just looking at you, making eye contact, where these are staring at the roof, for example. But I would say to them, just take in an inhale there for me and breathe out, and they'll go. So they put their lips together, right? And when you put your lips together, it's an automatic sign of an upregulated breathing system.
What's that mean?
Basically, like the panic, the fear, the stress, the stress of it. It's a stressed breath. That's what I say to them. Okay, do you see the way you breathed there? I said, see the way you put your lips together? And you have to actually nearly coach it back out. And they're like, no.
But you're not supposed to have your lips together.
No. So if you're training, I just said you're training, it's lips together, because you're looking to channel and brace all intrinsic ab muscles. So, for example, the balloon, like we asked them to blow up a balloon. By putting the lips around the balloon, you create a vacuum, it's sealed, and then it's about blowing the air into something. And by doing that, it creates a far higher brace within the muscle. Okay,
I'm focusing on my breathing now and getting all worked up.
Well, I've run through a few small things, a few techniques. Like, so somebody who suffers with the anxiety piece, okay, or panic attacks.
Do you ever get a panic attack?
Yeah, just ask me that in a minute. I'll tell you. Yeah. The stress breath, the high adrenaline individual, braces all the time. Right, it's like you go to touch them to do a treatment. It's they're like that. Okay?
Nervous.
No, full on attack mode. Okay, they're the go getters. Lock in all the time, and you're like, man, just let go. Come on, let me in. Switch off the first layer of tissue in your body so I can get underneath that and work on the sheets underneath and so on. The the real trauma people, it's like this, when they breathe in, and hopefully you might be able to hear this, but it's like, hang on, give me a second now. So it's like,
Yeah.
right?
That's through your mouth.
Yeah, but even through the mouth or even through the nose, it's like, it's broken from start to finish.
Is that just when you're talking to them about something? Or
Oh
all
yeah,
the
there'll
time?
be that. Like they hold their breath. So them deep trauma people hold their breath, because their mind won't switch off. And when you're thinking, you're not breathing. That's something
When you're
I've say a
thinking,
lot.
you're not breathing.
You're literally, when you're fully focused on the saying I say, and it's in a nutshell. I'll wrap it up with this: if you're lying on the bed in front of me, that's the here and now bed. If we put another bed beside you and another bed that side, you've 3 beds. If you are sitting here now and you can't let go of the past, beating yourself up over the past, angry over the past, whatever, you're over on that bed. So your body is here, but your energy system and your intrinsic system is over there. Whereas I'm trying to fix this. If you're worrying about the future and you're panicking about what's coming and all these things that may never happen or things that are coming down the line, you are over in this bed.
So how do you get everyone on the same bed?
Well, that's where it comes back to your chakras again. Like, so my trick every time is we go to do the treatment on the roof of the mouth. We work on the sphenoid bone and we consciously get them. You can feel it. It's class. You can feel it off them. I'm going to try and make a video of it one day. It's very hard as an Irish person to show them coming in fierce wound up. This is why you have to go through it yourself sometimes. But when I'm doing it, I'm treating the roof of the mouth. So where it needs to be treated. Some sides are perfect. You'll see their lip off. You'll see their alignment of their eyes and nose all off. The forehead will be extremely tense. They can't let it go. And when you do all that treatment, it's like you had it done, and it's like it just clears you from the inside of the head out. But a lot of that would be very straightforward, as in, I'd say to them, okay, I want you to breathe in for 5. I want you to hold the breath for 2. And I want you to let it go for 5.
Box breathing.
Which means don't. Yeah. I seen something like that actually. Yeah. So the pieces again, it comes back to the putting the lips together. Stop putting your lips together. It's time to unwind. I want to downregulate everything here. I need to get you to the rock bottom. And then if we need to pick you back up, so say we have a person who is a major worrier, we get them calm first. Now they're in their rested state. Chakras, all these different things are beginning to align. Their thoughts are now clear. Maybe we might pop the audiovisual on them on the bed, but everything is now aligned. And
so did the Buddhists have it right?
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
So they focus on the breathing, but basically what they're doing is bringing everyone back to themselves and focusing on the now.
Yeah, and what I don't like, and I mentioned it briefly last day about the addictive side of things, is how people would say, God, I do a bit of breath work in the morning, just sets me up for the day. But they still have, if they don't do that breath work, it's a shit show. And my clients, I'm saying you're not going to become now one of these people who do that every day. So I need to figure out the whys. Why do you feel you need to do that breathing? Let's tackle them situations. Let's look and address those very maybe deep-rooted shit that you may not want to talk about.
Still not a bad habit to have if it helps.
Great job, yeah, perfect.
But it's not.
But long term, you become reliant on it, and you have to be very careful that you don't have crutches in your life. You see,
you mightn't even know.
Exactly. I know, and that's like, there's clients I have, and I say, listen, I can see you beginning to really lean on me now. Like, you're really trying to use me as your thing, and I'm gonna. It always is on you. It has to go back on you. Like,
do you have people ringing you? When you help people?
Not anymore. Well, I've had my personal phone. Yeah, I've had people like could text you 10:30 at night saying they're suicidal or something. Like,
what do you do then?
I've had to get to 11. Something happened 2 weeks ago, and it happened. Yeah, says to me, she's like,
someone messaged you and said,
yeah, like, can you call me please at 11:15 or 10:30 or something? And I was going, sorry, I'm out at the minute, can't.
After he said he was suicidal?
I hadn't talked to him. No, not yet. He said, can you call me for a minute?
Yeah.
This guy had been in with us before, and
do you know him well?
Yeah, like know him. He came in, he was a client for a while, he went off again, he came back in, went off again, and then vanished completely. But the last time I met him, I said to him, you need to put some systems in place, like. But then a year passed, and this is what I get. Like, well, could you call me, please? And I said, I can't right now. I'm actually out. And this was last weekend. You might have seen it in my story. I was seriously burnt out.
Mm.
And that's when I have to be really careful, because you snap, like, you might just be totally drained. So then that came in, and I went, oh, you're fucking joking me. Like, so he texted back and said, I really need your help and need to sort shit out. And I just went, yep, that's no problem. Called him whatever his name and said, give me a call next week if you're serious. And he said, well, I'm suicidal at times. And
it's nice. How do you do on a Saturday night?
Yeah, and I went,
poor fucker.
Yeah, and I know him, and I went, I said, he goes, I only trust 4 people in life, and you're one of them. And I went, look, I really like you. I said, you're a great guy. I said, I've no problem in helping you. I said, I can't do much for you now, and you know that. And I says, all I'm asking for you is, if you mean business and you want to work proper this time, I said, I need you to contact me next week. Give me a shout Monday, Tuesday, whatever. I'll see you. We'll have a proper chat. And then he texts him back to that message going, I'm really sorry for texting you so late. And I said, don't apologise. You're not to apologise. I told you I'm here if you need me. But I have to try and create a ground rule as well. So I took a guy in a couple of years ago who texted me like that. And I minded him for 2 years. And in the end, he pretended he fell down the stairs in my gym and he sued me for 38 grand.
What?
So I'm going, it's not my issue anymore if you leave it till the last minute and you text me saying you're going to kill yourself. I have had to separate myself and go.
You've all that fairly worked out. This isn't your first rodeo. This happens
exactly.
a lot.
So I went, and Yaz going, how do you compromise that? I said, I can't. I have to recover this weekend. Like, I have a big week coming up. I have a lot of people coming up that aren't great. The clinics drain me, like they fucking wipe me. I just go away from all human contact if at all possible. Then I'll go to Dublin or I'll just switch off, and I recoup very in sick quick, 3 hours, 4 hours tops.
What's your favorite way to recoup?
Haircut, fucking
haircut,
massage, fucking walk, people watch, just switch off. I'd hate to get to a point where I feel so sorry for any proper famous people. It must be horrendous for them that they can't actually find a place where they're total silence. Like, it's that coming in on your energy all the time. Like, I seen the other day, I love him, like Jim Carrey, and he said, I think I'm done. Like, I love my quiet life. He said, I am enough. I've achieved enough, and so on. But I try and just get a complete, like, even to drive to Dublin, whether it's like last night, I just done a big sing along. I was singing the whole way to Dublin in the car, just blaring summery tunes. It was a savage day. Went to the barber that used to live in Mullingar, got a haircut, got food, went for a walk, got coffee, and then home. Done. I was fully recouped. But that was majorly trained as well over the years. Like, I was noticing that I had to learn how to recover quicker, because I couldn't afford this long spell of fucking off for a week or two. And I remember I used to go on holidays, and it would take me 4 days out of 7 to unwind, and I'd be just getting calm,
then
and I'd be heading home. Whereas now, I wouldn't even have gone to the airport, and it's done. So I'm out, switched off.
When you're so busy doing that and dealing with people, and like, it's hard on the head, how come every so often you do these lunacy things? Like things that, like, I don't know why you do them. Like, you put yourself through hell for certain things.
So because we start, like, I'm really struggling lately with, I used to wreck the shop as regards Instagram. I'd just go on, I would say whatever, and I get a phenomenal release off it, because I'd be pepped up for so long with certain clients who might just be constant playing the blame game, and it's pepping me up all the time, and I want to say something or whatever, and for whatever reason I feel trapped and enclosed, and then I have to just, like, explode. So I learned the old explode would have been just snap at someone that you care about, and you're going, oh, I'm sorry. Told you about the match this morning. I ran on. Lomans had me a bit whatever, and the young lad kept pushing me. I was getting a bit of verbal abuse, so I hit him in the chest, just back. But, like, within 2 seconds, turned around to him and said, hey, man, stop. I have no interest in any of that. Stop. I'm only here to play game football. And we literally shook hands, and that was it. So again, I recognize that's only because I was physically tired, and my patience was a little less. That's all. But you asked me about the panic attack thing. So I found the book there a couple of months ago. It was in 1990. 20 years ago. I was 12. Yeah, it was 20 years ago. I was about 12, and we were about little fuckers as well. Typical, living down around the street in the town. And,
You know Tony, are you?
Yeah.
Raised on coke and crisps.
Yes, no. Oh yeah, sorry. But no, we used to be. There was the word back then was it was a mental hospital, but it was a smaller scale housing unit for them. And Annie was one morning I was going to school, and we'd always be messing and jeering and throwing snowballs in the winter and all these shit, like, harmless. You didn't think you're doing any harm. But one morning going to school, Annie was a mental, one of the patients out of as they said, the mental in Lomans. There's obviously people are saying that's a bad word to use, but like Lomans was known as the mental hospital.
Yeah.
But he attacked me anyways, and he grabbed me and tried to throw me into the canal.
A grown man?
Yeah, one of the things. So
one of the patients.
My brain at the time was, fuck it, this was the maddest thing. And I seen a program on it one time saying that some people believe something happened a certain way, but it was all the sequences throughout that formed the memory. But anyways, he tried to throw me in. I ran to school. As far as I was concerned, I came home I broke down crying that day, and my mother was called, and I told her. But she said I was in school for nearly 8 weeks or something before I admitted it. And I kept saying to them.
So you only broke down 8 weeks after this?
And I didn't want to sleep on my own. And then I was, annoying my brother Darren to sleep with me. And then they got me a teddy and all these different things. I couldn't be on my own. So when I broke down, obviously, they were saying, what's wrong with you? So then I told them. So, of course, my mother went mad, and she went up and she went to the hospital and different things. And they were saying, sure, what do you want us to do about it? And then she went to the guards and all these different things. But I went for counselling. Now, my parents had just split up as well. And then psychologists tried to blame Mommy and Daddy splitting up for me claiming this.
Would it have had anything to do with it? Probably didn't help.
My last memory was of Mommy and Daddy fighting outside a window one night.
That's your earliest memory?
No, that was the last memory of that was the night they split up, for example. But I didn't see a patch of.
What was that like?
I didn't see a patch. My brother, at the end of the day, like, this is all stuff I have to even talk to him lately. It's all surfacing now for some reason. But he would have protected me from a huge amount of, if there was rows at home or whatever, he would have protected me a lot. So he would have experienced a lot more trauma than I have. So I'm lucky that way. But I was going to counsel anyways. But when I was left on my own, everything started to speed up, and my heart rate went through the roof.
While you were talking about it?
No, this is just when they leave me alone. Like, if I was left alone, and every single night, then my dreams were, it was this conveyor belt thing, and it was stones on a conveyor belt, and I was trying to sort the stones, and everything was going well, and then
that was the dream you were having.
This was the dream, yeah, every single time. And that was at night, but during the day when the panic attack would set in, and I didn't know it was panic attack at 12 now, by the way.
What
it
took
me
it feel
nearly
like?
15 years to look back. This is what was going on. So if you were talking to me, I thought you were talking like a million mile an hour, and I'd say to Mommy, are you talking fast? She's like, no, talking normal. I said, God, it sounds like you're talking so fast. So the psychologist just asked me to do something simple and said, I want you to get a little book and write your thoughts down. So I found the book, and
really,
it was just unreal for one reason, that how simple it was in the end to get over something. And I wouldn't be a man for journaling or anything, but that's what she made me do. And it was like I had to date it and just put down something that happened. So I put down some days, today I played, I remember reading it going, holy fuck. And today I played badly in Tin Whistle. But I remember then coming home and saying to Mommy, I'm not playing Tin Whistle anymore. You talk about emotions, I wouldn't tell her why. Fucking 15 years later, I remember now going, I was mortified because they were all progressing really quick. I couldn't, so I didn't want to be there. So I said, I'm not, and then for weeks.
Do you get frustrated if you're not the best?
No, not the best. No, I just you get frustrated, I suppose, if I'm not grasping stuff. I would be hard on myself in the level of.
Well, you're definitely hard on yourself.
But I journaled for about, say, 16 times or something random like that, and it went from being the emotions of very worried to some little happy days. I visited my cousin today. We had a good day, but the last journal, imagine, was
the last entry.
The last entry was today I was over in Tullamore with my uncle. We went to the Westmeath match and I seen Billy, the man's name, right? I seen
the guy that attacked you.
yeah, and I says I seen Billy, and he didn't scare me.
And that was the final. You didn't need it anymore.
As a 12-year-old said it, and I didn't hold any anger towards him. I never journaled after that, and I got over it. And I only look back now going, fuck, like I obviously had a processing ability because I journaled feck all. It seemed very straightforward. Talk about your emotions, acknowledge it, accept it. The big thing I always say, no matter what's going on in your life, you have to accept the position you're in, no matter how bad it is, if it's a breakup, if it's divorces, if it's your business, you have to accept. You have to stop, pull up the handbrake, accept where you are now. Then you can. It's only then you can move forward. If you try and make yourself busy and dismiss some levels of trauma that you've just gone through, and you try to pretend you're okay, it will always catch up with you. At some point, it will eventually. You can't keep burying it. It'll come out in some way, shape, or form.
Do you think that people get worked up for being too busy?
How do you mean?
Like, people can have so much going on that they stress themselves out or get themselves into a ball.
I think on average, a lot of people have very, very little education on time management, on the organising things or maybe prioritising things.
Guilty.
Stuff like that.
I'm
That's
guilty
what I
of
would
that.
think more so. So like during the transformations, for example, I would see it so much like, sorry, Shane, I might have to pull a pin on this, real busy at the minute. Go on, give me a breakdown of what your day is. And I do this hour thing with them saying, right, okay, how many hours are you in work? Deadly. We add them up, we take them a total away. And I said, there you go. You still have 45 hours in the week. For example, like it mightn't be 45. I remember a figure, it could have been one lad. I said, you still have 13 hours left. That's completely, you can't account for. I was like, can you just take 2 of them to train? Oh yeah, deadly. Keep her lit. So the time management piece, and I would have done a lot of that with it. We always give up the stuff that's good for us first, because we have to bury ourselves, like building the house. Naturally enough, you go, I could train, but I could also be here. And that's what happens. But that's where I said, you try to find that balance where you go, you don't put on 2 stone weight just because you had a child. Don't put on all that stuff and get very unhealthy because you're building a house. Don't put it on because you're just after your wedding. Like, it's the typical fucking shite. We see us, we get in shape for a wedding and we become a fucking mess. Like,
But when you're in the middle of it, you're not thinking about it like that. Like, I'm guilty of that. It's like you just get so busy doing stuff
I know.
that it's very you're prioritizing. So you're there thinking, well, I have to be here and I have to be there and I have to do that, and you get so wound up. The last thing you're thinking about.
I think everybody, there's not a person on earth, and I never believed this before, and now I realise it. There is no one on earth that cannot be anything they want to be, but they have to learn the art of truly focusing and removing everything that drains on your energy.
How do you train to be resilient like that? Say,
Well, that's why you're on with the cycle and different things. The cycles for me, the Hell Week, for example, was when it all changed for me. The training. This will shock some people, especially GA lads. I know that I played some championships and no one would have ever copped it. I know myself, there was periods in a match where I was really tired and I went hiding. I knew I should have showed for a ball, but no one would have copped this. Everybody will do it at times, but I nailed myself to the cross going, you knew you should have showed for that ball, but you were too tired. And instead of accepting the tiredness piece, I was hard on myself. And I went, why does the average GA athlete dread going down to a tough fitness session? They actually dread it. So I went, fuck that. I'm going to have to go away from all this. Develop a mindset that you go through such hardship that nothing will ever make you anxious again. So when I trained for the Hell Week, the sessions were fucking absolutely ridiculous.
Is
And
that
I'm proud
why
to
you do
say,
is that why you do that?
oh yeah, that's why I did it in the end. Well, no, that wasn't the number one reason. That was just a psychological aspect on why does the brain do that? So I read my first psychology book at 17, like Mind Gym it was called. And it was because I was struggling to break into the senior team. I was performing so well in the leagues. And then basically I would mentally drain myself coming into the championship match. Everything would change. I would change how I eat. I would change how I'm drinking. I would change how everything went. And then I'd flop. Get taken off after 10 minutes. And I'm like, fuck me. This went on for 3 or 4 years. So I was like, there's something wrong here. Like, I need to upskill on psychology. But then I did, and I came back, and I remember then when I broke through, I visualized everything that would have happened, and it all happened in the first day. Playing wing forward, I visualized scoring 4 points, I visualized a sunny day, I visualized the national anthem, all these different things, and I'll never forget, I have no clue why they played it. They played the national anthem one time out in fucking Moat in a senior championship match, and I just remember standing there going, holy shit, I seen all this in my head, and at the game of my life played for, points, whatever. That was my first experience of visualization. And then I channeled that into work. So, like, for example, on Instagram, I might put something very outrageous out there. And some people could say, Jesus, your man's a bit confident or cocky or arrogant. But that's just my method of putting it out to the universe. And I'm nailing myself to the cross saying, you said it now. You fucking have to do it.
It's part of your process.
That's my process.
To get stuff done.
I love pressure. I always performed better on the bigger stage once I learned all that psychology. And to separate championship day to normal day. Like at the team who can't break through, the teams talk about Mayo and different things. This whole curse, it's all psychological. All psychological at the end of the day. There is no reason why the semi-final should be different than a final. The mind kicks in, and in the golfing world, like, it's a big, psychology is massive. Like anybody will stand up to try and take the 50 foot putt, but no one wants to do the one that's maybe 10 inches away because everyone expects you to get it.
Have you any little handy tricks to get our minds a little bit fucking better of handling that kind of stuff?
On the physical end of things, I basically I made a commitment to say, if you say you're going to do something, you have to do it. So if you say you're doing 100 reps of something, you're not going home. You have to do 100 reps because, yes, nobody else might know, but you'll know. And the voice in your head. So I turned that into a real person. I know people think it sounds a bit mad now, but the voice in your head that kicks in, that when you're saying, I want to go to the gym this evening, or I want to do something, or I know I should do something, and that voice kicks in saying, you're all right, don't. Take a handy this evening, chill out. That voice is extremely bad. Like, that's that voice.
I call that voice to the kids the inner ninny. I said, Clark and Lily, don't listen to your inner ninny. I call it my inner pussy myself, because I fight with it all the time.
But everybody battles with that. So, like, everybody has a breaking point, and there's sessions like, you could do a session, for example, you could stick you on a watt bike, and I say to you, you're gonna hit mental demons now inside the next 3 minutes. Or I could stick you on something else and say, you're gonna hit a demon in around 45 minutes into this session. So it's different scales. So the 45-minute sessions, for me, the way I looked at it was, they're the 2 to 3 years of trauma someone may go through after something horrendous. You're building a tolerance for a long, slow shit time. So when I done the 2 and 3 or 4 hour sessions, or I done the cycling, for example,
Well, back to cycling before it goes any further, because I'm never going to get this question out. You're building a house, you're flat out at work, and then you ring me one day and you say you're going doing this cycle. And it was like a huge thing. Like, you hadn't really trained for it.
the house slowed up, and I knew that there was something like, I was waiting on windows. So I knew that there was nothing happening for 10 weeks. And I says to Yaz, I was like, why is there at me to do the cycle again? So I done one day with them last year with no training. I done 330k 2 years ago.
In one day.
Yeah. So
And
that
the
was a
3
big
day event
feat.
was?
Like, very proud after that. I was like, Jesus, and I wasn't sore the next day and couldn't believe it. But they came to me and they said, would you be interested in doing a day again? And I said, I can't do the day again. Like, that's very boring. I've done the day. I'd have to do something a bit more. And he said, sure, no, it's on in 9 weeks or something. And I was sitting there and I had the map on the wall, and he said, this is the route, like, and it was starting in Kinsale and it went upwards. So literally all the way through Kerry, up, and finishing all the way around. And we finished in Derry.
How many kilometres?
2,100 in 6 days, 6.5 days. So 300 on average a day. So you were out of bed for 5, you started at 6. And some days we fucked up and we didn't get back till 9:30 or 10. And the latest was 10:45. But I just said, no, I couldn't do the day again. So he texted me about 4 weeks in, he said, are you training? I said, I'm doing a bit. Like, I said, not a whole lot. I said, trying to get out. And he said, well, I'm telling you now, Shane, he said, you will not get through this. It's not possible if you don't do this. And he sent me a program. And I went, yeah. So I knew the time was against me then. So I came up with a different way from my knowledge with fitness. And this is a whole different thing again. If you're an athlete and you're thinking, how can you get fit quick? You train, you learn your lactate threshold. And that's a very, very tough thing to do mentally, because you're on that threshold all the time. You're an inch away from breaking. You're trying to hold that and hold
What
that.
do you
and
mean
hold that.
lactate threshold?
So you might spill over into lactate, as in your legs will fill with lactate, or your body will produce lactate because you've gone into it's a toxin, like, to protect you. It's actually a gift to your body after you hit puberty and so on. And if you weren't able to hit lactate, you would run forever, essentially, and that's
Is that
why
when
your heart.
you all cramp up and they get sore?
Well, there's the stinging. It's the sting that comes in. That's lactate production. So you're trying to train on the edge of lactate production, and you're trying to increase that threshold. So, for example, my first thing was, right, I'm going to go for an hour, and I'm going to absolutely dog it. Like,
No, but I want to know why you decided to do it. Like that decision where you're looking at it and you go,
to be different. I really try not to be normal. And if we're sitting in a room and people say, which I was, cyclists are saying, Shane, you won't do that. Like, it's not possible. You don't have the mileage. You don't have the experience. Your arse won't be conditioned, which it wasn't. I was destroyed there, in fairness. That was terrible. But I just went, okay, so if everybody is saying I can't do it, then that's the perfect time to do it. Like, that's no-brainer to me. That's perfect. That's exactly when you want to do it, because there is that 1% chance that you may do it and people said you didn't. And then if you are in that percent, well, you'd like to think that that will spill over into the rest of your life, into everything. You are different. And that's exactly why I do it. I've learned, I'm only learning in the last year working with psychologists, telling him things, and he's asking me these questions you're asking me, and we're going back and forth. And next thing he said that the level of determination is different than what I've seen, he said, and the way you perceive it, and that constant drive to be different or be normal, or not be normal, I mean. So I do it to challenge that nothing phases you. Like, if you said in the morning, now, I'm not a cyclist, I haven't touched the bike since that, like, only because the house became very busy. So the windows came, the week I was on the cycle, it was that really nice weather, and there was a load, the house was supposed to get slated, and none of it got done. So when I came back, I was a bit annoyed it didn't get done.
When you do hard stuff like that and you struggle, because obviously there's mental struggles, does it give you more empathy for people that are struggling in the gym?
Yeah.
Say if someone comes in and you're 20 stone overweight and you're struggling to just sit up and down.
Yeah, where do you start? Exactly. That's the thing for them individuals.
You can say, look, I get it. You know, I
the Hell Week was the first time ever that people through Instagram and people that knew me wrote to me and said, like, they've seen me struggle from day one to the end. I only found my momentum as I got through day 3. Once I got by the 3rd day, I said, that's it, I'm staying here forever. I'm not going home, and so on. That's where I felt this lift. This whole thing just lifted, and I went, okay, I get it now. You shout and roar in her face. Okay, cool. I know what the story is, and everything ends. That's the way I say it. Everything ends. So just, you got to hold on and hold on and hold on. Some of the toughest challenges I ever done, believe it or not, was I just got on a stepper one day and I said I wanted to burn 1,000 calories in 60 minutes, but I had forgot that I'd done a 4-hour one the day before over in the cut, and I'd done the bike on my own. And again, I was determined to be different, where people say, geez, you'd never do that cycle on your own. You'd never do this on your own. But I think the toughest one that mentally broke me was, not the toughest one that meant that physically, I was burnt out for 2 weeks after. I got on the bike and I said, this is it now. This is my last big session. And it was the threshold thing. So I took off from Mullingar, and hand on heart, as hard as I could go to Mayo. I never stopped. It was 4 hours and 40 minutes. It said 7 hours or 7.5 on Google Maps, but the threshold averaged 170 heart rate for 4 hours 40 minutes. So that meant the peak was 193, but it averaged something like 170 beats for the minute. 4 hours.
It's not normal behavior.
But I remember,
you should climb Mount Everest or something.
No, I remember the process was, this is exactly the time to quit right now. Like, even throughout the cycle, that lactate burning in the legs, and you're like, don't, it'll go away.
Does it go away?
Yeah, you talk to your legs. You're just telling it, my legs are pistons, I'm a machine, all these affirmations, whatever you have to tell yourself. And the next thing, poof, you're like, fuck, it's deadly. And
Or you get a heart attack.
Yeah, and I do. I know. Yeah, there was a guy on the cycle, and he told me a story about him. And now this is what I'm saying. He admitted he was an addict, and he took that addiction and he moved it into business. But he still now knows, I don't have a balance, and I've never found it. He said, I have to. I scratched this itch. So he does these cycles and these different things. And he died. Like, his heart has been stopped 3 times to reboot him and start him again. And he met his wife. It was phenomenal. Like, but it was, again, too extreme. I went, oh, man, come on. Like, there's a fucking line. Like, but he was a 50k from home, and he had to get off the bike, and he made his wife the video. And he said, I'm so sorry. He said, I have to keep going. He says, I'm not quitting this. If I die on the bike, at least I'll have died happy. And I'm listening to this going, oh man, come on, like, it's your family and stuff. But no, it was almost a selfish attitude, if you like. But he finished the cycle, and the helicopter was waiting, and he just collapsed at the end and airlifted away. And
That's mad.
It's stupid extremes, but phenomenal if you take elements of that attitude. But again, life is about balance and about...
Have you anything extreme you'd like to do in life? Like climb Mount Everest or K2 or do a cycle around the world or anything mad like that?
I'd love to break a world record. Don't know what it is yet. I'd love to try it. I'll just try something, but that won't happen until I have a few goals that I want to do and achieve, and like the retreat is by far the biggest, so that's it now. I'm locking into the next 3 years, and it will be literally really calculated breaks, but by Jesus, I'm just going to turn the screw completely and know when to take those breaks now. So use all the experience I've talked about, where I've crashed and burned loads of times, to now going, I'm so lucky to be able to say I have a balance now that I know before anyone else knows, okay, you're just coming to that limit now, taper back, chill, have a few drinks, whatever it is, and ramp it up again. Go away, go Yaz, go off, whatever it is, and then just pick it up again. And just keep that perfect cycle going, that you never peak out, you never top out with anything. But yeah, it'll be well down the road. But yeah, I'd like to.
Do you believe in God?
That's mad. Jeez, I don't know how you're reading my mind. Talking to the fella the other day, and he asked me, he said, he's
Religious?
Yeah, and he said, well, the worst question you can ask someone is, are they religious? He said, you should be asking someone, are they spiritual? And I was like, yeah, well, actually, that would sound a bit more. So I believe in there's something, the fact that across the world there's 1,000 or so many gods and all these different religions, then I go, that's some bullshit. Like, come on, we can't all have had the story of how it was created and so on. So I never get too bogged down in that. But I believe that if someone goes into a church, that's just their place, that's fine, and they sit there and they pray and they look up and they say, please, help me get through this phase. I'm really struggling. I need the strength. Give me strength. Please, please, please. I believe that's the same as me sitting in my van, pulling in, chatting, going, I'm struggling now at the minute. Give me so there's something out there that you're putting it out there too, that hears this and it attracts things. And like there's the law of attraction, there's the visualization, there's all these things, and it's that's what I believe in. It's just there's something higher up there, and we will never know, is there a God? Yes, there's loads of times I've
Someday
prayed.
you'll know.
Yeah.
You have that heart attack doing this 8 million mile cycle.
No, but
you'll meet Peter at the pearly gates. There. I told you to calm down, but you thought it was your inner ninny. No, it was me.
No, yeah, I do. Of course, I do believe in it. Yeah, we used to always go to mass. Just like it's definitely deteriorated in how many people go to mass now. You play football every Sunday morning. It should, it did fuck it up for me. Maybe others don't.
It's mass on a Saturday night too,
exactly,
Shane.
But sure.
You just weren't putting in the effort.
No.
But this is probably the conversation I should have had with you the first time, because people wanted to know a good bit about you, and loads of people did ask us questions, and we'll come on once a month and we'll get down to the nitty gritty. But it was important that people got to know a little bit more of you. I suppose that you don't go to mass, you bollocks you. Picking your train instead of mass, Jesus is going to be raging.
And I did, in fairness, the first one, as I said to you, between a nervous energy, really wanting to get that point across, and the first one to go, like we were saying, it was almost like very, very borderline passion / anger, going, Jesus. But it worked. It did work. There's no point denying it. It was very successful. We've just had a lot of people contact, and a lot of people followed, and you got loads of feedback and stuff. I suppose with this one, look, you're right. Maybe this was just a chat, and it's nice for me to let that side down, where I'm just flaked out on the chair here, and
Yeah.
chilling, because this is how I was. As you said, you wanted me to talk to you the way I would be, just on the car on the way up. You know.
That was cool.
So hopefully that message comes across.
Now we'll just tip Anne home. We'll talk about getting you to mass more. I'm only joking. But no, that was cool. And I want to thank everyone for listening and watching, and thank Colin. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Good luck.